Now, Rishi Sunak came out swinging today, boasting about his record on small boats.
The first time small boat arrivals here are down by a third, even as illegal crossings in the Mediterranean have soared by 80%. Let me just repeat that. Small boat arrivals here are down by a third.
Well, our increasingly tetchy Prime Minister then lashed out at our political editor, Christopher Hope, when he put our Calais revelations from last night's exclusive to him, which showed the numbers waiting to cross the Channel are as bad as they've ever been, and that Rwanda is a running joke amongst the migrants.
News has been in Calais, Prime Minister, where migrants have told us that they are laughing at the UK and its Rwandan policy. Are they right to laugh? Is your policy a joke and your government a laughingstock on this matter?
Look at the results. So you've been over in Calais, you've been over France. Well, the number of people crossing from France to the UK this year is down by a third. Right? That's the simple truth. So actually, what we're doing is making a difference. We're disrupting criminal gangs upstream before they get anywhere near Calais in the first place. I'm not about talking, I'm about action. The numbers of people crossing from exactly where you were to the UK are down by a third.
Well, you quite possibly are all talk, actually, mate, because French police officers have told GBNews they are overwhelmed by the scale of the migrant crisis in northern France and are struggling to make a meaningful impact on those trying to cross the UK by small boat. But what Rishi Sunak doesn't want you to know is the scale of the invasion taking place via lorries. Although UK politicians are fixated on this very visible and high-profile small boats crisis, thousands of migrants are still risking their lives to sneak onto the back of trucks. Our Home and Security editor, Mark White, witnessed the chaos around the port of Calais as young men dice with death in their attempts to jump aboard UK-bound lorries.
All around the port of Calais, even in broad daylight, these migrants are everywhere, looking for transport across the Channel. They're opportunists, often young African men who have no money to buy a place on a small boat, opting instead to clamber aboard trucks. Through the security fence, this young man is trying to stay out of sight next to a roundabout, waiting for the moment lorries slow down here in the hope of jumping aboard. While UK politicians are fixated with the small boats crisis, politicians here say the lorry crisis is just as bad.
There are clearly those who can afford a boat trip, but many others who have no money, who see the lorries that pass through the port in their thousands as the only realistic way of getting to the UK. And as bad as things are during daylight, it's at night when it truly gets crazy here. We're on our way to a lorry park on the outskirts of Calais, where we're told that after dark, migrants appear looking for a suitable trailer to stow away inside for the journey to the UK. You don't have to look far to spot the migrants. They're everywhere here. We film as one clambers into the back of this lorry, disappearing out of sight. Every time a new truck parks up here, within seconds they're swarming around, checking the doors, probing for weak spots to get inside. Those we spoke to are from Sudan. They're here night after night.
I have 2 months here.
2 months?
Yeah.
Trying every night?
Yes.
And do they discover you on the lorries? Do they find you?
Yeah. I go to port, security take me. I go to port, like this.
Every day?
Yeah.
Wow. And you're just going to keep trying until you get to the UK?
Yeah.
Suddenly, the migrants are on the run, scattering as an unmarked police vehicle enters the lorry park. But talking to these officers, they tell us they're completely overwhelmed by the scale of the migrant problem here. And despite the extra money from the UK, they say they don't have the resources to make a meaningful impact on both the small boats and lorry crisis. Quite often when the migrants try to get in the back of these lorries, they end up damaging them, cutting the guide cables or sometimes even cutting their way through the roof. So what you find is that some of the lorry drivers do this. They just leave their back door open so that people can see right down inside the lorry. They see it's empty. There's no point in getting into that lorry because they're going to be found out. Migrant after migrant tell us the same story. Like Majid here, it's London they're determined to reach.
And you will keep trying to get to London?
London, yes. I go to London.
Within minutes, Majid and his friends are around the latest lorry to arrive. But the driver sees them and tries telling them there's no point in climbing aboard as he's heading to Belgium. It's clear they don't believe him, and as he pulls out of the lorry park, unbelievably, just visible on the roof here is 15-year-old Majid. When we catch up with the lorry on the motorway, the driver has discovered Majid and another migrant, pulling over as they jump off. They're dicing with death. Migrants have been injured and killed on these roads, but that doesn't put them off, and they're more determined than ever to reach the UK. Mark White, GB News, Calais.
Well, there's not much sign of a deterrent at play there, is there? That must make quite uncomfortable viewing for the government, because it's not just everybody backed up waiting to get on the small boats at Calais, is it? Those lorry parks appear to be full as well. But Rishi Sunak also claimed today that he's solved the problems of Albanians breaking into Britain, or there or thereabouts.
Last year, a third of all those arriving in small boats were Albanian. This year, we've returned 5,000 people and cut those arrivals by 90%.
But that's small boats, isn't it? Our people smuggling contacts on the ground in Calais directly contradicts that claim.
The number of the Albanians on the boats might be down by 90%, but make no mistake, they're still coming. They're arriving, hiding in the back of the trucks. The Albanian gangs seek out willingly, usually Polish lorry drivers. They pay them to smuggle them across Europe and then across the Channel in the back of their vehicles.
Well, in response to those startling revelations from Calais, a Home Office spokesperson told us, "We are relentless in our pursuit of those who seek to enter the UK illegally and stand ready to respond to all methods deployed by people smuggling gangs, including lorries and other clandestine routes. Our extensive security measures include robust specialist measures from Border Force, who work closely with our international partners. Since the start of the year, immigration enforcement have also arrested more than 230 people smugglers, leading to 160 years in sentences."